all doing well on this beautiful Monday morning after a beautiful weekend. I am pinch hitting for William Way, who is out of town today and was not able to be with us. As most of you know, I'm the vice chair of the commission, Kathy Cameron. So I'd like to welcome all of you to our October meeting. And before we jump in with the presentations, we will take public comments if there are any. Okay, well, hearing none, I think we can move on to our first presentation. And it's really great to welcome back Melissa McMahon, who is the Parking and Curbside Manager for Arlington County Environmental Services. You may recall I believe she presented a few months ago on the work of the performance parking pilot and is here today to provide an update and information about the closeout of the pilot phase. So I'm going to turn it over to Melissa. Melissa, do you have slides to share?
Yep. Hello, everybody. I'll share my screen now. And then I'll do this. Let's see. All right. Does everyone see my slides full screen?
Yes, thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Yes, thank you again. My name is Melissa McMahon, Parking and Curb Space Manager, and I'm really happy to be here this morning with you all to give you an update on our performance parking pilot project. So I'm going to be going over, I guess the most important things are the outreach we've done throughout the project, the results we're seeing with the project, and what we would like to do next. So those are the key items among all these slides. So as a refresher for anyone who may be new to the commission or doesn't remember because there's a lot going on in your lives, the purpose of this project is to make metered parking spaces more available more often through pricing and information, and to hopefully reduce the negative impacts associated with the search for metered parking, such as double parking, cruising, erratic and dangerous driving behavior, extra VMT and emissions from search time, and even going elsewhere to do business. So in our project timeline, this project has gone on for some time, since the fall of 22, when we kicked off with our contract team. And we are now after a year and a half of price changes that were quarterly incremental price changes. So we did 6 of them. We are now in our fall 2025 data analysis and ordinance updates period. And I'm doing presentations to commissions such as yours. And we just finished a key round of outreach in September. This winter, we'll be going to the board. And at the end of the presentation, I'll talk to you a little bit about that. So a summary of our outreach and engagement to date. Our webpage over the course of the project has received 86,000 views. We have QR codes out in the community on decals and in other signs, other locations, where we've received over 17,000 click-throughs on those QR codes. We did targeted parking intercepts in our September outreach, really, again, trying to reach parkers when they're parking, where they're parking in our busiest locations. And we intercepted over 3,600 folks and had interactions with them, and 371 of those were in Spanish. We conducted online feedback forms throughout the project. So we had an intro one. We had one that was open throughout most of the project period, informally, just a place for people to provide feedback. And we had another one active during our September engagement. And over the course of those 3 forms, we had over 400 responses cumulatively. We reached 260 businesses with door-to-door outreach. And we've done, by the end of the project, inclusive of this fall's update presentations I'm giving, we will have done 40 progress update presentations to commissions, the chamber, and bids. We conducted 14 pop-up events talking with the community. So those range from pop-ups at events like Clarendon Day, Roslyn Jazz Fest. We did 4 parking day pop-ups, similar things to that idea. Farmers markets, places where people are gathering anyway to talk to them when they're out in the community. We conducted 4 trainings through the 55 plus program. 3 of those, I guess the 4th one will be this week. And they're happening at the community centers, and they're focused on using the tools for understanding where different prices are and how to see availability information and how to make the tools work for you. We did 3 open houses, 2 retail employee conversations. We conducted a Code the Curb hack event, which was targeted to folks who, as hobbyists or professionals, use APIs and create tools with open data feeds. And we had a really interesting fall event last year with that audience. So we had maybe 40 people in attendance and watched almost a dozen presentations. We had an author talk this summer. Actually this fall, the beginning of September, at Central Library. And of course, we targeted outreach to capture users of ADA spaces. We had a special survey that went out for that, so we could understand ADA space users better. And these are just a reminder of the different online tools we've had. Of course, our project page has been open throughout the course of the project. We have an app that shows real-time availability and price. And we also have an interactive meter rate map where people can look at a time of day and a location in town and see what the layout of the rates, what to expect if you're planning a trip to a particular neighborhood. And we also have 10 digital signs up in the community now in different neighborhoods, approximately 2 per neighborhood. So you might see them as you're either walking or driving through the community. These are designed to direct people to the more affordable parking options. So it is intended to direct people away from our most congested parking areas and toward the ones where there's more availability, which is also where they are cheaper. And what the data says, so this is the section on our data findings. In summary, demand in busy areas is steady, although there's a little bit of movement. There's not a lot of movement yet in response to pricing and information. We are seeing seasonal trends emerge in our data, and we need more time to observe that because we were only really beginning to have one season of overlap. The price options that we have on the street today are accessible. So what I mean by that is that while we have raised prices substantially in some areas, the lower price options are highly walkable throughout the community, and there's a growing awareness of these options. Payment compliance is low. This is sort of an artifact of another area of exploration we've done, comparing transactions to occupancy. And the payment compliance appears to be unaffected by price. ADA, we've got some ADA and RPP parking insights in the slide set, and I'll talk a little bit about stated preference versus demonstrated preference. So in this slide, I'm showing average occupancy by metro area and price change. So it's a lot of colors and a lot of lines, but basically each of these sets of bars is a neighborhood, and they're running from left to right before our first price change, which is the baseline period, to the last price change. And occupancy does vary by location and by season. And in some neighborhoods, we see a downward trend in occupancy, which is intentional for some areas, but we don't see it universally throughout. In terms of session behavior, we have parking sessions here per sensor by month, and while we have summer highs and winter lows showing, especially in that red circle, we had a winter snow event this past winter, which did make a dent in parking activity generally. What we're seeing is that overall sessions in our corridors are pretty consistent, maybe a slight decrease in this year, but by and large, very consistent. And we do want to see consistent overall sessions. What we want to do is see them move within the neighborhoods to the more affordable spaces. So in our high demand areas, we're not seeing a lot of change. This is overall parking occupancy across the project period in the high demand spaces by price change. So as you can see, not a lot of movement there. The price changes retain many parking options. So this is a couple maps showing our corridors. The yellow lines are blocks with maximum parking rate of $2 or less. There are some blocks, and that's all day, any time of day that we're metering. There there are many blocks that go down below $2 for parts of the day, but not all the day when there's a peak hour increase in price. And as a reminder, when we increased prices based on occupancy information, we did it during peak hours where the peak hour period was up above 80% full. So we use that as a threshold for establishing that there might be trouble finding parking on those blocks, and we want to encourage people to park nearby in lower demand blocks. So even in areas like Clarendon, with some of our highest demand, we're often a short walk away from easier, cheaper parking options. So what we mean by that is in these orange blocks in Clarendon, the prices are high during peak hour because it's very hard to find parking and it's very busy. But the blocks that are blue are quite a bit cheaper in price, and it's a lot easier to find parking there because there's more availability. And Clarendon is one of the neighborhoods that has blocks below $2 in price at pretty much any time of day. It just depends on the time of day, which direction you'd go to find those lower price blocks. In terms of payment compliance insights, the top chart here is basically showing you that on average, we see 40% payment compliance. That means across all of our metered spaces in the project corridor, only 40% of parking instances are being paid for and the rest are not. We do see a tiny tick up in potential payment compliance in the last couple months. We do know police has been working hard on staffing up and increasing enforcement activities. So the hope is that we'll continue to see that tick up, but overall it's been pretty stable at 40%. The bottom left chart is showing average compliance by meter rate. And this ties to that fact that it doesn't appear to be, the price that we charge does not appear to be related to people's willingness to pay for that price. So the highest price points that are available on the street today at some peak hour are on the right-hand side of that graph, and the lower ones are on the left-hand side of that graph. And if anything, the cheaper price areas have some of the lower payment compliance. So we suspect, based on the available information, that price is less important to people's willingness to pay than perhaps the visibility of the space and their perception that it's going to be enforced or that people will notice if they don't pay. In the right-hand bottom chart, I'm showing average payment compliance by average dwell time. And this perhaps might be more intuitive for folks. Sorry, I've got an echo now. I'm not sure. Great. The lower the duration of stay, the lower the dwell time, the lower the payment compliance for the most part. And then you can see there's a dip again at the really high end of dwell time. So this intuitively, really short trip, someone's running in for a coffee, they're probably not paying, and they're probably taking the risk that they're not going to get caught not paying. ADA spaces throughout the project remain highly available, although misuse of these spaces is easier to spot with the data that we have. So this is showing you across neighborhoods the difference between, in blue, the occupancy, the average occupancy of standard spaces, and then in orange, the average occupancy of available ADA spaces. So you can see they are not as heavily utilized as regular spaces by and large, although we are able to zoom in our data and see if individual ADA spots have unusual behavior associated with them. And when that happens, we can point it out to parking enforcement, and we can take a look ourselves to see if there's something about the land uses, something about the nature of that part of the neighborhood that is causing people to use it in an unusual way. And the findings from our RPP monitoring study alongside this, which was intended to determine if there was going to be consistent overspill parking being caused by higher prices at the meters. We only found one RPP block in all of the blocks that we studied, which was something like 20, that appeared to have increased occupancy through all the seasons while also being near an area of the pilot project that has received several price increases. Every other block that we looked at had either no relationship with the price increases, or They were near lower priced meter areas, which would suggest that the project is not the cause for any increases or fluctuation in occupancy in the RBP areas. So this is really a good finding. No obvious influence, but of course, for the one block that we did see some season over season increases, we will be monitoring it carefully to see if in fact that's just change in RPP behavior or if there is more non-RPP parking happening on that block. And last in the sort of data section, I wanted to talk about stated preference and demonstrated preference. So something that's pretty cool about this project is that while we did outreach and we got a lot of different kinds of qualitative inputs and feedback from people about their parking preferences and their priorities, we also had over 14.5 million parking sessions in our data set and counting, which are essentially a demonstrated preference, what people are willing to do, want to do, where they want to be, where they want to park, what they're willing to pay. When we asked folks to rank being close to where you're going, an easy to find parking space, meaning you don't have to search around a lot, or a cheap parking space, what's most important to them? It's essentially equal across these three concepts. 34% selecting close, 34% selecting easy to find, and 31% selecting cheap. And this is kind of interesting because sometimes we get individual comments being concerned about high prices, but by and large, across the board, and that's almost 700 responses, people interacting with us, but also our 14.5 million parking sessions through their demonstrated preference. There's a lot of parking activity continuing to happen and being paid for in our high demand areas at higher prices. So really one of the things we're learning is that the street's very valuable for folks. People were willing to pay a lot more than we thought off the top. People would be willing to pay, and they value many things when they're trying to park. So sometimes they're willing to have it be cheap and maybe a little farther away. Sometimes close is the most important thing, and they're willing to pay more to get that. And a lot of people saw easy to find as a key partner with one of those. They like it to be easy to find if it's close and easy to find if it's farther away, but cheap, as long as they know where to find it. And we also know from our parking sessions, it's sort of backing up the fact that there's still low awareness of the price options we have in the field, that wide array of prices going down as low as 75 cents an hour and as high as $4.75 an hour. So it continues to be important to us in the work of the project to raise awareness of those options and help people make the best choices. So in next steps, the key next thing that we're doing, in addition to speaking with many commissions across this fall, is going to the board no later than February at the February board meeting for an action for a replacement ordinance. So we are operating under a temporary ordinance with a sunset date. And that ordinance is what has allowed us to manage the metered street parking based on demand and in a performance-based capacity. So we will be proposing that the board permit the county manager to continue to operate metered spaces with a performance-based management approach. And that would have staff analyzing data and making periodic, but most likely much less frequent updates to prices or other regulations based on actual parking activity. And really our goal is to continue this effort in a sort of steady state, because we think that there is evidence of the beginnings of price awareness and people starting to shift behavior from the highest demand areas to the lower demand areas. But we need more time, and this has proven to be a very educational and data-rich endeavor to help us understand the nature of how people are using these spaces on the street, and to help us and our enforcement teams become more efficient with how we manage this asset. And that's the end of my prepared slides. So I wanted to make sure if anyone had any questions or comments, and you can always reach out to me directly. My contact information is on this slide as well.
Thank you so much, Melissa. That was really informative and very impressive, both in terms of how the pilot was conducted and the data that was collected and how you analyze that data to get to your outcomes to continue this work with periodic changes, updates as needed. Thank you so much. We'll now open it up for questions from the Commission on Aging. We have a few minutes to do so.
I have a question.
Please go ahead.
Yes, I'm just interested in the number of respondents that were senior citizens. Or do you have any kind of data that says that we senior citizens use a specific area more so than others, and what our desires are?
So yes, I don't have that in this set, but we do have the ability to break down, and we're still finalizing our more, I guess, robust feedback report that summarizes all of the work that we did with engagement through the course of the project, and we're going to be posting that on our webpage. It has demographic information, so it does have a way for us to break down responses by age groups, and also the we ask a sort of trigger question for whether folks have a disability that affects their travel behavior, so that we can also sub-analyze that. When we did a sub-analysis of that particular feature earlier in the project, when we had only maybe 130 feedback form results, there were some unique pieces of feedback coming out of that group, particularly an interest in additional enforcement of the spaces that they need for use, a concern about price sensitivity, because ADA spaces and folks who basically need to be close to where they're going didn't want us to raise rates. And we in fact didn't raise rates in ADA spaces throughout the course of the entire project on purpose. In response to that, and in response to those concepts. And in fact, in some places we lowered the space cost because they were on a block that ended up with a lower price. So there are some spaces, ADA spaces range from 175 and down, 150, 125 in price. So I don't have a specific analysis for you today to engage on, because we don't have the sub-analysis worked out yet for seniors. I can tell you that the distribution of responses by age in the whole set was really even, actually. Like there was a really good distribution of 18 to 30s, 40s to 50s, 60s to 80s, like this across all of the age groups. So we were quite pleased with it being representative of a lot of different voices.
Great. Thank you, Peggy, for the question, and that was really helpful. I have one question. If the replacement ordinance is approved by the board, as part of the plan moving forward, will there be opportunities for ongoing feedback from people as well? Will that be part of your website?
Yeah. We intend to keep an open feedback form on the performance parking page indefinitely. So there will always be a place for folks to provide us feedback on that, like in that avenue. And my contact information is also always available online. One of the tools we had during the pilot, which was not directly our responsibility, it was actually a VDOT system optimization. I'll call it sort of a third-party evaluation effort that was going on. They had engaged Happy or Not, which is a company that asks you, are you happy or not with something, to provide pop-up triggers in Park Mobile and through QR codes across the project area. And that has been a really fascinating way to get folks insights on a specific parking instance, because they give feedback on whether they were happy or not with their experience parking, but they also gave qualitative open comments on issues with the app, the payment app, which was not part of the project, but is the tool everyone has out there if you're going to pay by mobile, and a lot of other kinds of feedback. So we are also intending to retain that functionality by incorporating that into our base scope of work, because we really think that that's a good way for folks to get an immediate, in the moment, the happy or not pop-up happens, and we get a good random sample of folks who are parking and what they think.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. Okay, thank you. Appreciate that. Roland, I think I saw your hand up, your hand raised. Did you have a question?
Yeah, I did. Melissa, thank you for the presentation. During your talk, you mentioned that there was a 40% compliance. Does that mean that 60% are not in compliance and they don't pay?
That's correct.
Wow.
That's correct. And so one of the reasons why we're so keen to just maintain this work for a while, in other words, the data system that we have in place and the ability to tweak prices down or up according to demand, is because the parking enforcement folks with ACPD are also using these data, and they are actively aware of the challenge. And we think that it's in partnership that we're going to get better outcomes on the street. And as soon as folks are a little bit more, let's say, price sensitive because they're actually paying the price, they're gonna start to make price-based choices. And I know not everybody can do that, right? But a high cost block today that's high because a lot of people aren't even paying attention because they're not paying. The minute people start to pay attention and some people shift to another location in the neighborhood, we have the ability to bring the price down. So like there's an optimization there where the high peak prices and the lowest prices don't have to be so different, except that we're trying to trigger behavior. And the more we can get people to be aware of price through better compliance, the more likely the prices are going to impact their behavior.
And one final question, is there any desire to increase the number of parking spots available in the so-called low price areas?
So in a sense, in the last couple price changes, we tweaked our threshold. We were using 40% occupied or lower to be a reduction in price. We tweaked it a little bit because we wanted to ensure that some places that had higher prices had available nearby comparable lower price that was significantly different enough to be of interest. So we lowered the price at some places that were 50% full instead of 40% full. So it wasn't rigid. It was a very careful assessment of the geographies of proximity of parking spaces. So we would be giving better options to folks. Now, we can't make more parking spaces very easily, right? So the places that are more affordable don't necessarily have room to have more spaces in them per se, but we will continue to look at those adjustments so that spaces that might have been held constant because they didn't hit either threshold, the ones between 40 and 80, there might be places where we'll lower some because we want to create more of a draw. We want to make it more attractive, even though they might otherwise have not warranted a reduction.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. And Melissa, we do have an additional question from Charlie Sabatino. Go ahead, Charlie.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Melissa. That was very informative and helpful. Is the payment app used in the project the same as the Park Mobile app that we commonly use?
So the project app, and I'm going to quickly skim back to the screenshot of it I had in here, is not a payment app. It's this center screenshot here. It's almost like a Google wayfinding app. So Park Mobile continues to be the only payment app that we have available in the county. And it wasn't explicitly part of the project, but for some time they were showing parking availability data on that app. They have since decommissioned that functionality because Park Mobile had other priorities in their app update. This app is called ExactNav, and what it shows you is the real-time availability. So the green areas being more available parking spaces vis-a-vis full parking spaces. The ones that are red showing no available parking spaces, and orange is like in between. We also have some off-street parking assets shown on this map so that you can see if there's available off-street parking near you or near where you want to be. And this app has the functionality to zoom in, to select where you want to park, and to navigate you with turn-by-turn directions to that location. So if you're going to lunch somewhere, you're driving there, meeting up with friends, it will just give you the Google turn-by-turn directions with audio triggers, so you don't have to stare at the map the whole time while you're driving there. They are looking at integrating with payment so that you could also click and go straight to the payment option once you're there, but that functionality is not in this app yet.
Great, thank you.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Melissa, for your presentation. That was super helpful. And I want to make sure that you're aware that the commission has a transportation committee, and maybe you can stay connected to Catalina Calichan with updates as this moves forward.
Great. That sounds terrific. Thank you so much for having me today.
Thank you. Okay. Well, we're going to move on to our next presentation, and that is updates from Parks and Recreation and the 55 Plus program. And Jennifer Collins has joined us today to provide those updates, and she is the unit manager for the 55 Plus programs for the county. So I'm going to turn it over to Jennifer to provide these updates.
Good morning, everyone. I just want to confirm my screens are on. Everybody can see my screen or my presentation? Yes. Okay, perfect. So thanks for having us today. I'm just going to give a quick run through overview of the 55 Plus programs. I know, sorry, some of you all have heard this recently in some different groups, but I'm going to try to just give you a brief view on what's going on with us. So Arlington's 55 Plus programs serve over 6,800 members through 5 dedicated senior centers, which now offer over 200 programs every week, ranging from fitness to social activities, educational workshops, and the congregate meal program, which provide more than 13,500 meals annually. And our 55 Plus travel program allows participants to embark on monthly trips with more than 50 fitness classes offered each week. We are ensuring that our seniors community stays active, engaged, and connected. And last year, we actually celebrated 70 years. So we were actually the first senior program established in the state of Virginia back in 1954. So one little thing I wanted to add, if you had not heard, recently the Department of Parks and Recreation, which we fall under, won a gold medal. Arlington County's Department of Parks Rec won the 2025 National Gold Medal Award for Excellence in Park and Recreation Management. The American Academy for Park and Recreation Administration and the National Parks and Recreation Association presented us this award on September 17th at the 25 NRPA annual conference that was held in Orlando, Florida. And Arlington won for the gold in class 2 category, which is for communities with populations between 150 and 400,000 residents. And just on the screen is a picture of me and some of my staff last week when we were out doing a park cleanup project together. So they had the gold medal out, so we got to share in some of the fun with that last week. We are, as well as with Parks and Recreation, we fall under the Community Recreation Division. And this is, it falls everything from youth programs, senior and support programs, which are therapeutic recreation, and the community arts program. Our support programs ensure that people of all ages are provided equitable recreation experiences. So on to the focus of the 55 Plus programs. As a result of our programs, participants are able to follow healthier lifestyles and engage in social connections that improve their quality of life. We bring opportunities to learn, enhance physical and mental wellness, and engage in our community, all which improve the lives of our participants, making for a better Arlington County. And the 55 Plus programs accomplish this through our 5 55 Plus centers, our 3 social 60 Plus cafes, and a robust fitness and travel program. And this screen just will show you currently our 5 55 Plus centers, and the ones with the little social 60 Plus cafe logo are the ones that help hold the meal program. And we also have programs at the Madison Community Center, TJ, and the Longbridge Aquatics and Fitness Center. And our staffing and structure at our 55 Plus centers includes 1 55 Plus center director And each of the ones that has a social 60 plus cafe also have a program coordinator and a 20-hour-a-week program assistant and numerous volunteers. We could not pull off the programs, the 200 programs a weekly that we do, without the volunteer support of this program. And each center also has their own 55 plus advisory committee, which all fall under the Senior Adult Council. We consider, even though not officially a commission, the Senior Adult Council, or SAC, we'll call them, our representatives, and they kind of speak to our leadership through Parks and Recreation. And through that, we also have a Sports and Fitness Advisory Committee and a Travel Advisory Committee. We do participate in the 55 plus programs. We do have a yearly pass. The pass starts at $30 for an Arlington resident, and for our basic pass, which just gives you access to all of our programs, classes, and that are all offered at discounted rates in the 55 plus day trips. But we also have a 55 plus gold pass, and that gives anyone that has that access to the weight rooms across the fitness centers across the county, except for Longbridge, which has a different membership because of the aquatics component there. And the gold pass actually starts at $75. Our rates just went up in the last budget, so I get those a little confused sometimes. And then we also have household and then out of county memberships too. The interesting thing about our gold pass, why it is more than our basic pass, over 65% of our members actually choose the gold pass option. So they're using that, which is great. How we get the word out about our programs is mostly through the 55 plus guide and newsletters at our centers and electronic e-news that we send out monthly. The 55 plus guide, which you'll see, is it's a 56-page publication that our staff works year round on. I feel like it never stops. It's a quarterly publication. After COVID, we did go digital with this, but knowing our population, it was important that not everybody might have access or is comfortable for different reasons using the computer. So we do print a limited amount of paper copies that are available at our center. So, and that was purely a price and environmental reason, but just because after COVID, it tripled in the price it costs to produce the 55 plus guide. And our programs. So core programs are wellness, lectures and learning, art, brain health, technology, social events, community service, partners, and a big demand for programs, especially in the sports and fitness and the travel areas. But a lot of the popular trends that we're seeing now are around technology, AI being the latest hot topic I know we were all hearing about. In fact, Arlington Mill is currently doing an AI series, and their next class has over 40 people signed up and a waiting list with another 15 people. So there's a lot of interest in that. People are interested in aging in place, mental wellness, and our arts programs remain very popular. To touch on the sports and fitness, this is often kind of a gateway. They're like, oh, I'm not going to a senior center. That's not for me. But they join a fitness class, and the next thing they're making friends, and then they're going to a social or a different program. And just our sports and fitness programs, we strive to find a good balance and to fit anyone's needs. So from a seated exercise class to a higher cardio intensity class, we offer on average 150 hours of sports and fitness programming for members every week. So some of those are scheduled classes. Some of them might be drop-in senior hours at a fitness center. Some of the most popular classes are the aquatics classes, which are all held down at the Longbridge and Aquatic Center. We've got boot camps, Pilates, Zumba, and any kind of yoga you can imagine. Yoga is always popular. In the middle picture on this slide actually shows a very popular class that we have. It's the total body fitness that takes place on Mondays and Fridays at 10 a.m. at Lover Run. If you're ever here, you'll see that class, because we have this class. There's another version of it on the other days, but we either have half the gym or the full gym. This is one of the days we have the full gym where we get up to 65 people. And this is a class that starts with a seated portion, but then moves into a 20-minute cardio portion. Very popular class. Our instructor, Andrea Bowman's been teaching that class for us for over 30 years, and participants love it. So come check that out. It's great because it's a drop-in class too. Wanted to touch briefly on our group training, because this was in response to DPR last year, that we had to cut the personal training program that had been offered. It was eliminated out of the FY25 budget. And so the 55 plus programs was tasked with developing a new program to meet the needs of the seniors who previously participated in the program, because they found out actually a lot of the people that were taking the one-on-one personal training were seniors. So we took this over, we developed and provided participants with options to work with in groups with trainers, but they're smaller groups. They're like 6 to 8 people, no more. Not everybody shows every week. And so this has worked out really well. We started last fall and it continues. We've usually on average offered about 12 different sessions, and they go for 6 weeks at Thomas Jefferson Community and Madison. And we're actually going to be expanding to Arlington Mill Community Center this December. And these classes actually, since they've started, we've had over 254 participants with 125 unique participants take it. So it has worked really well. And just to touch really brief on some of the other sports programs we do, of course, we've got the pickleball. We've had it here for 30 years, which I joke about. So it's not really new to Arlington, but it's definitely picked up. We have a golf club, a senior golf club, and we have almost 300 members in that group. They go out twice a week. It's March through October, so they're just wrapping up their season. And of course, we have an active biking group and volleyball, along with some other programs. And then onto one of our most popular, the travel program, which has on average 10 to 12 trips per month and remains very popular. With last year, we had 721 unique travelers, and with 90% of them rating the trips as good to excellent. This program was actually established back in 1972, and the trips are planned by the 55 plus travel staff, an advisory committee, and from volunteer leaders' feedback. And some of our top trips that we do are the Virginia Museum of Fine Arts, historic trips, Gettysburg, Antietam, any type of riverboat cruise, and the historic garden weeks, performing arts at Riverside Center, Kennedy Center coffee concerts, and the National Theater DC shows all remain popular. And then onto our social 60 plus cafe. This is one you'll probably hear more about through the Commission on Aging, because this is where we partner with DHS AAA to provide this program. And it is designed to provide meals, transportation, and nutritional programs to older and individuals 60 plus in Arlington County. And it abides by the Virginia Department of Aging and Rehabilitative Services state requirements. And we actually went through our audit last year, and the DARS staff comments were positive of saying that, and when I say last year, actually last March, so last fiscal year, and said it was a model site for the Congregate Mill program, and they wish they could showcase the Arlington County program to other jurisdictions. So we were really proud of that, and that's because of our great partnership with the AAA too. The cafe was established, which we call it the cafe, was originally known as the Congregate Mill Program, and it was established in 1972 under the Older Americans Act, and it is designed to help individuals remain independent and involved in their community. The program presents opportunities for social engagement and meaningful volunteer roles, which contribute to the overall health and well-being and help prevents the need for more costly medical interventions. And these programs have actually been taking place in Arlington since 1975. So we've hit our 50 years here with Arlington, and help older individuals remain independent and in their communities. And any resident ages 60 years of age or older and their spouses, regardless of their age, are eligible for the program. And there are no income restrictions for this program. This is an age-based program, but priority for subsidized meals may be given to people with lower income and greater social economic need. And the meals are free. However, participants are encouraged to make a contribution towards their meals and transportation. And this is done confidentially, so no one feels any pressure if they cannot afford to contribute. And I just wanted to show these meals take place at Arlington Mill, Langston Brown, and Walter Reed Monday through Friday. Not everybody comes every day. We see kind of our peak days at each center. But wanted to show you in FY24, we served 192 unique participants, serving 13,223 meals. And in FY25, we had 2 unique participants with over 13,500 meals. And we actually expect that to be higher. We're on the trend to possibly hit over 14,000. We think we could actually hit 15,000 because we've seen an increase of about 100 meals a month during this new fiscal year. So we've seen a lot more. We're trying to figure that out right now. Is it more seniors coming in, but we actually think more are coming more often too. And a lot of that may be due to the meals and the current economic environment. And so we're going to show I show on here the meals served for the last several years. And you could see where we had COVID, but we still had meals for COVID because we went to home delivery during COVID, where we were once a week going out and giving flash frozen meals to the participants. But the Congress Meal or Social 60 Plus Cafe was actually one of our first programs to bounce back strongly after COVID. We hit our numbers, our pre-COVID numbers, like within that first year, while some of the other programs we saw come back a little slower. One of the things you'll probably hear us talk more about this coming year is this is where we are a lot slightly concerned with the budget. And there'll be more talks coming because Department of Human Services and AAA receives yearly allotments from Virginia's Department of Aging and Rehabilitative Services for the Title III C1. And we actually receive part of those funds to provide the mill. And we just recently found out our FY27 allotments are expected to be decreased by at least $40,000. So we're now starting to have talks about how we can make that difference up without affecting the mill, especially as we're seeing the need for the mills rise right now. So plan to hear more about that as our budget talks come along. And then another important service I just want to touch on is actually more expensive than our mills are is transportation, which probably doesn't surprise you all as we talk a lot about transportation in the commission. But because the majority of the participants that attend the cafe do not drive. So we provide a shuttle bus and taxi ride for those that may not be able to use the shuttle. And transportation is our biggest challenge. So the weekly schedules for participants is not like a school bus because Miss Smith might come Tuesday, but then she canceled Wednesday. So it's never the same schedule every day. So that's been a real challenge for the staff as we've moved to the shuttle, and especially the cost of it, which is not subsidized by any of the federal funds. So this is all Arlington County pays for that. And then just wanted to touch a reason we call it Social 60 Plus Cafe several years ago. Rachel and Maimuna and I worked with the seniors closely on renaming it from Congregate Mill, and the participants were very specific that they felt the social aspect was very important to include in that name. So that's how we came up with the Social 60 Plus Cafe. And the meals are important. However, we feel the social interaction is often what keeps people coming back and even more beneficial. We know the issues around loneliness and everything. So we continue to offer this, and this program coordinators work hard to provide different programs. Daily programming changes up, anything exercise, arts and crafts, games, and lots of opportunities to socialize. And then just to touch briefly on our 55 plus virtual programs, this is one of those good things that came out of COVID is we had been talking about it, but this forced us to do it because we know, especially during the winter or flu season, not everybody, and for various reasons, people cannot always get to a center. So we wanted to provide options for people to still participate. And this happened during COVID, and we could still, and some of these we'd have live virtual programs taking place, but we also have a YouTube channel now that has over 157 videos that we continue to add to, and that grows each month. We have 861 subscribers to our YouTube channel, and we've had over 40,000 views. So I usually have a little video, but don't have time today that I show with this, but if you ever want to check it out, and if you'd like the link, I can send that. And we've also partnered up with Fairfax County and Prince William County to do a virtual center for active adults that has been going on since we've returned from COVID. And this all started during talks with them. So we take Thursdays as our day, and we do programs, and then the other communities do other days. So someone can always find a live virtual program at least Monday through Friday. And then wanted to touch briefly on the Alliance for Arlington Senior Programs, which is a nonprofit that was created about 18 years ago to work to support 55 plus programs here in Arlington. And one of their big things has been digital equity, and they're part of the Digital Equity Coalition. And since returning from COVID, they became very instrumental in trying to get resources for seniors through internet, through providing computers, and also the training to how to use a computer. Because they didn't want to just hand someone a computer and off you go, because they understand that people needed the training and the resources to do that. So they had actually developed classes, and over the last 2 years, they've had at least 70 students in what they call the Internet Access for Arlington Senior Programs. And over 70 students have gone through these programs. There are 6-week classes offered twice a week. There's a list on the screen of some of the locations. We started at senior centers right after COVID, and then they've been able to expand to some of the affordable housing locations in the community. So that's been a great resource for them, or for the participants, and has had a lot of great feedback. So they continue to do that, but they also just received another digital equity grant, and with that they're doing these new tech help desk you may have seen about. I know Dustin sent out something about it, I think last week or the week before, where they're actually doing this in some of the affordable housing locations. But my focus, we've been advertising the ones in the senior centers, where people at Langston Brown and Walter Reed, once a week at each site, they have someone there that's hosting the technology center, so someone can bring in their cell phone or their computer and ask questions, and with this expert in that. So they've just started a couple weeks ago, and they're already really popular. We think we may eventually have to move to signups, but right now it is a drop-in. So wanted to share that bit of information. But that's just a very quick overview of the 55 plus programs, but I'm happy to answer any questions if anybody has some.
Wow, thank you so much, Jennifer. That was truly a comprehensive presentation on all the senior programs through Parks and Rec, and what a value. I mean, what people can get for either $30 per month or $75 per year, right? Was it per year? Yes. Or $75 per year. Amazing. I'm a believer now. I'm going to start joining some of the programs. Yeah, let's open it up for any questions that people might have about the comprehensive array of offerings for older adults in Arlington. Oops, see if there's any hands raised. Looks like Erica, please go ahead.
Yeah, great presentation, Jennifer. Thank you so much. I wondered about participation by those in the Arlington Independent Living buildings, and whether what you see as to their participation.
I don't know the numbers. Actually, I know with some of our, especially the Congregate Mill, we see some people participate that may live. I know one of the senior housing places, we do a bus pickup there with the shuttle. So, and then is it the Claridge House? Rachel, you remind me right now. I'm thinking.
It is. Yes.
Right. And with Arlington Mill, we have a lot of people, and I think we have some come over from the Arlington residents right next door. But we have done some work through even the Parks and Rec this past year, where we've gone out and done some programming. Our arts unit did, and we've had some of our staff go out and help with it. One of my staff, Jessica Vasquez, has gone out, who does a lot of our outreach, and she's gone out with some of those groups too to help sometimes with language translation. So we're trying to get out more in the community. It's just, I think with staff resources makes it a little more difficult, but it's definitely, and we do a fee reduction that we try to advertise too. So even though we have a membership, we want to make sure people know the fee reduction and is a possibility for anybody to participate. And those fee reductions are good on our trips and classes also. So someone could still, we have people that have told our travel supervisor, if it wasn't for that fee reduction program, they wouldn't be able to travel. So it's been very beneficial.
Great, thanks so much.
Thanks, Jennifer. And I think Audrey also has her hand raised. Go ahead, Audrey.
I did, but Erica covered most of what I was interested in. Do you have programs at places like the Carlin or Culpeper Garden? But I wanted to say, put a plug in as soon as I was age eligible. I joined, and for $75 a year, the cut rate, like my Pilates class is like $50 or $60 for, I don't remember if it's 10 sessions. Anyway, it's a deal. You can use all the gyms. If you haven't joined, join.
Thank you. And we've worked really hard to try to keep those fees low because we know a lot of times, a lot of our seniors may have lived here a long time and been retired a long time and maybe on a fixed income. So we've worked hard to not to compete with like our enjoy classes, but to try to keep them low rates so that we want to keep people engaged and active.
This is Claire. I'm on the phone. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Jennifer, hi, it's Claire Jacobson. It's Claire, you know me. I'm on the phone, so you can't see me, but like Audrey, I wanted to put a plug in. My husband and I have been members of the 55 plus household program. It's really a wonderful program, especially the bus trip or the travel section is really worthwhile. That's probably what we take advantage of most. And the 55 plus is a great program. And as I mentioned to you the other day, we look forward to working with Jessica Vasquez so she can come at some point do a presentation to the Mary Marshall Assisted Living residents. So we'll be in touch for that in the near future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Oh, Catalina, please go ahead.
Hi, Jennifer. Thanks for the presentation and congrats again to the department. I had a chance to swing by the Public Spaces Master Plan open house late last month in September. And I saw there were some, posters up at Lebaron about, access to facilities and things like that. And I was wondering, because in some of the engagement that we did last year to the Social 60 cafes, we heard from some folks about, last mile challenges and getting to places like Lebaron or Longbridge or, other places that have great programming or facilities. I was wondering if you could just talk a little bit about the Public Spaces Master Plan update, if you have anything to share, or like how you work with them to consider, the needs of older adults and getting to these places. Like you said, transportation is a big challenge.
Yeah, I can't really share any updates. I haven't been involved in that much. I know, but Irina, I'm forgetting her last name. I believe will usually come out to the commission too. I think she did maybe last year or the year before and presented to you all. And I can check with her on any updates on that if they're ready and when they're ready to start sharing that information. I know I saw that they were doing the public feedback right now. So, and we've actually been going through a lot with CAPRA, which is one of our national certifications right now too. So they've been doing a lot of data collection on that, but seniors is a big part of the information. I know they're always asking me for information to show with our volunteer work and the volunteers and what seniors give back with us. So that's always important. I'd love to share the video that we did for the award that was received because seniors were a big part of that. They actually went out to Walter Reed and talked to some of our seniors, and it was a great video and it represented us well too. So I was very excited because I'd seen a video before. It didn't have as much seniors, but this one really, you could see seniors and therapeutic recreation and diversity and everything were all important in Arlington. So that was great. And I think a lot of that comes from the master plan work that they do too.
Thank you.
Let me see. Any other questions? Nope. Okay. Wonderful. Well, thank you. And Jennifer, just wanting to let you know, we heard loud and clear about the funding challenges that are upcoming. And, the Northern Virginia Aging Network just released their priorities. And one is to increase funding for AAA services by $10 million to support the needs of the growing population. So I'm sure embedded in that is more funding for the meal programs at senior centers across the state. So thank you for all the work that you do to keep up these amazing programs.
Thanks for all your support. I'm sure we'll be talking more budget later. So
yeah. Excellent. Thank you. All right. Well, let's move on to the approval for the September Commission on Aging meeting minutes, and wondered if anybody had any questions, comments, or changes for the meeting minutes that Dustin had sent out. Let's see, any hands are raised. Okay. Dustin, I just have a few minor changes and that I will send to you separately. But can I have a motion to approve the minutes from the September meeting?
I move for approval of the minutes with the minor changes.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Very good. Then we will, let's see, move on to the staff reports, and I'll turn it over to Dustin Manhart to talk about any updates from the AAA.
Kathy, thank you, and I'll make sure we get those minute edits incorporated, and we'll get those out to everybody. Thank you for approving those. Good morning, everyone. Happy to be here, and just to provide a couple of quick report outs after our colleagues Melissa and Jennifer. Those were great presentations. Thank you both for taking the time and being incredible partners. What I wanted to talk about today is just to quickly take you all through our annual performance measurement plans, or our PMPs. So the county does this great thing where we go through and we evaluate all of our programs, and we have to report out on those programs internally to ourselves. And it's very beneficial to, number one, to hold ourselves accountable, but number two, really recognize where we're making significant progress, where maybe we can do a little bit better, and to really highlight and take those highlights and advocate for more funding or make improvements to programs and things like that. And also, I think, helps the county prioritize what is most important at certain times. So I just wanted to give you a quick report out on the Home Delivered Meals Program, our Aging and Disability Resource Center, and our VICAP programs, which all fall under the AAA, as you all know. And so there were three areas where we really stood out, and that was increased outreach to underserved populations, high client satisfaction and service effectiveness, and there's rising demand and resource strain. So I'll just go through briefly to give you a couple highlights. So all the programs made progress in reaching underserved populations. There was significant improvement in reaching our Black, African American, and our limited English residency residents in Arlington. In terms of the Home Delivered Meals, our Meals on Wheels program, the Home Delivered Meals program served a higher percentage of Black, African American, older adult residents living in poverty compared to the overall population. The VICAP program has increased services by 17% to individuals with limited English proficiency, and has been hosting outreach events at new sites in underserved areas. And we started that in 2024. And by the way, I'm reporting out on 2024. Apologies for not clarifying that. And then the Information and Referral Center of the ADRC continues to serve a high volume of customers, and it served clients in 26 different languages, really honing in on that commitment to accessibility to our residents in Arlington, especially that, our immigrant population, our folks with limited English proficiency. So the second one, the high client satisfaction and service effectiveness. And sorry, my light likes to go out. I'll get it back on in a moment when I'm done. All programs consistently receive positive feedback. This demonstrates high program standards, including customer service, despite staffing shortages and increased demand, as you're all aware of. For example, in the Home Delivered Meals program, 97% of our recipients, our clients, said meals helped them age in place, and 89% reported eating healthier because of it. In VICAP, 98% of our clients, or folks that utilize the VICAP program, understand Medicare better, and 84% understood how to save money through this information and resources. And then in the ADRC, 77% of our clients and their family members felt better off after utilizing the resources and information, and our satisfaction scores were very high. They range from 86 to 91%. And then the last piece I wanted to cover, the rising demand and resource strain. So all the programs, as you know, I think our colleagues talked about this, are facing rising demand and complexity with straining resources and that requires more support for clients. So for example, we increased our home delivered meals delivery by 4%, so 4% more clients and meals served last year, despite budget shortfalls due to rising costs and stagnant funding. We served 90,509 meals, which is up 4% in 2004 from 2023. In VICAP, we served more clients and achieved significant Medicare cost savings despite that growing case complexity. So I'll give you a quick example on that. So open enrollment is open right now, and I'll talk about that in a second for VICAP. When I chatted with our staff last week at the end of the week, a couple of them reported to me, in the past, it might have taken 60 minutes, maybe 65 minutes. A couple of our staff members spent over 2 hours with clients in the beginning of open enrollment because that complexity of what's going on with Medicare, what's going on with Medicaid has increased significantly over the last year. And then the ADRC. The ADRC continues to face staffing shortages and a high number of shelter referrals, which those shelter referrals take a lot of time while managing daily calls and walk-ins for older adults. So last year, they averaged 28 calls a day and 27 walk-ins per week with those higher shelter referrals. So let me just quickly go over to open enrollment. So happy open enrollment season, everyone. And we are there. And we are there through, we started last week and it's through December 7th. So Medicare beneficiaries during open enrollment can review, switch, or enroll in Medicare Advantage or Part D plans. And those changes take effect on January the 1st, 2026. So the VICAP team, and that team is made up of volunteers and staff. And I think Michael Schuster is here. He's one of our incredible volunteers. There may be more here that I'm not aware of, but I just want to call them out and thank them for volunteering their time. They do a wonderful job along with our staff. They offer free, unbiased counseling. Clients can make appointments, and they can do that via phone. They can come in. They can do it by email if they just want to, do an email exchange, or they can attend our many community events, which take up a lot of the time. So our first event was held last week. It was making the most of Medicare during open enrollment. It was held at the Walter Reed Community Center, and it offered education and individual counseling sessions. And I know that there's more coming, and some of the colleagues, some of the folks that are on the call today have helped us organize some of those upcoming events. So we're really excited about those. And the last piece I want to give you all before I turn it over to Rachel is just some staffing updates. And these are mostly focused on the ADRC this time. So we have a social worker intern, and she's incredible. She's fully onboarded and engaged with the team. We onboarded a new temp staff member who used to be with the team. We're really excited to have him back. He started a couple of weeks ago. And we're also set to officially welcome our new overstrength physician team member. And that candidate, I'm happy to report, is bilingual Spanish-English. So really, again, honing in on that accessibility, making sure we provide services in other languages. I also just want to call out, I'm not sure if she's on the line today, but one of our veteran temp staff members, Miss Teresa Whitting, will step away at the end of the month. She's been wonderful and will be missed. She's an incredible, I don't know if you all, she's here every day and just does such a great job providing customer service to folks. We just want to make sure to call her out. And I just wanted to say that Tanae did a great job with her P&P presentation and continues to lead the team while she and LaShawn, who is our team lead, continue to do a great job managing the duty calendar. There's a lot of stress and constraints on that calendar, and while maintaining flexibility with the team to cover all of the needs with what's going on now. Those are all my updates. I think I turn it back over to you, Kathy, unless there's any questions.
Yeah, thank you for the updates, the report, Dustin. It's really impressive to hear, you're serving an increased number of older adults while having some staff shortages and financial constraints. It's kudos to all of the AAA staff for all the amazing work that you do. Okay, any questions for Dustin? All right. Yeah, then let's turn it over to Rachel to provide updates from Community Supports and Coordination.
Thank you, Kathy, and you're doing a wonderful job as well. Good morning, everyone. It's great to see you all. Happy October. I definitely can feel the fall in the air, and hopefully everyone's had their pumpkin spice lattes and cookies as you're enjoying the leaves starting to change. I do want to, again, thank Dustin. This is his third month, and he has been doing a great job. There's so much to learn, and just thank you all for your support, your your guidance, your coaching as well. And I also want to just echo appreciation and thanks for all of our volunteers and the VICAP team during open enrollment, Michael Schuster, and of course, Charlie Sabatino. This is such a busy time for them, and we really appreciate the volunteers that help to supplement our VICAP staff. If anyone is interested in becoming a certified Medicare counselor or even volunteering, definitely reach out to Michelle Thomas, me, or Dustin, and we'll help to connect you. But I want to share a few staffing updates for our Community Supports and Coordination Bureau. In Adult Services and Adult Protective Services, we have 2 vacancies, one in Adult Services and one in Adult Protective Services. So we are actively recruiting for those positions. I'm thrilled to share that the caregiver coordinator at the Adult Day program officially started today. She has a background in developmental services, so we're really hoping to augment our support and services to caregivers across the ages and stages spectrum. This will also help us meet the updated federal regs in the Older Americans Act for caregiver supports. A lot of the things we were already doing, we just have to track it a little bit differently in the system. So having this dedicated role that was vacated by Jackie Igo earlier in the year when she retired will help us not just to fulfill the regs, but really to support our caregivers, because we know the needs continue to grow, and navigating some of the changes in the future with respect to federal funding is going to be even more needed. And with that, we submitted our area plan. It was finally approved by the county board this past Saturday. I really want to thank Jim Baker, who helped to shepherd that process. As a local government, it's a little bit different. We had to get our county board to approve it, and just really want to thank Jim. But it's also nice that it's almost at the finish line. It of course had been presented to you all. You approved, and we really appreciate that. The area plan is basically our contract with the state of how we plan to spend state and federal funding. And it is largely influenced by the feedback that we get from this commission, from our community members, from partner events like with Jennifer and her team, and out in the community. So we submitted that. We also submitted a separate emergency plan, area plan. So we had to consider basically all hazards that could impact Arlington and how we would respond for older adults. It was a very lengthy plan, but we do plan to pull out some nuggets and share with you all. If anyone has a heart or passion for emergency planning, please see us, because the next step in this process is Dustin and I would like to take this 45-page document and make it something more readable and tangible. But it's also what would help prepare us in the event that emergencies or disasters might happen in our community. And one of the ways that we help to prepare and engage the community is through events like the one we hosted in September. We had an emergency preparedness for caregivers event that we hosted in partnership with Jennifer and the 55 Plus program. We had about 36 people who attended. We had caregivers, we had some ambassadors who joined us as well. And we had a panel that included the fire department, emergency management, DHS staff, in the Red Cross. And it was a great way of how to plan, how to be prepared. I think everyone who attended learned something new, myself included. We hope to continue to do this every September, but of course, hosting or incorporating emergency planning in our outreach events. Some of the outreach events that we have done and continue to do are through the Benefits Enrollment Center. We received that grant through the National Council on Aging. The grant will end in November. The funds have been exhausted. We recently learned that the NCOA was selected to continue as the benefits enrollment center under the next funding cycle. And so the government shutdown has sort of impacted any notifications at this point, but we are hoping to reapply for the grant once the RFPs are released. So we'll share more of that as we receive it. We are closely monitoring the government shutdown. We know that this is impacting so many of us personally, and then this area, this region, and then for the Department of Human Services, we're seeing it, and we're seeing individuals who have been laid off, who've been furloughed, government workers, contractors, and it's a time of high need. But we are closely monitoring it. We did hear from DARS, our state agency, that the funding was provided through October. They're working on what a plan for November might be. So we're sort of waiting for guidance from them. There's been some communication from the state that SNAP benefits for November have been sort of paused for an automatic release. There is a plan, or if there is a plan, they can turn those back on between October 16th and the 31st. So again, and then the work requirement changes. Each state is required to submit those November 1st. One of the ways that will impact older adults is that the age limit for age-based exemptions for work requirements will be raised from 55 to 65. So we know that some of these changes are going to have a significant impact on older adults. Another concern that we have is there have been exemptions for individuals, for work requirements for individuals who were unhoused. And we've been sharing data on the increase in unhoused older adults. Now there's not an exemption for those individuals to qualify for SNAP benefits as well. So it's just really kind of creating additional needs for a population that is already significantly vulnerable. And so the presentation that Jennifer shared, nutrition needs are going to be more significant for the Social 60 Plus cafes, as Dustin highlighted, our home delivered meals program. We are fortunate we have Alana Sullivan, our registered dietitian, who is looking at malnutrition and how that can impact and what some of the potential solutions might be. So again, we're closely monitoring it. We will share updates and data as we receive that and can highlight. Culpeper Garden, just wanted to provide an update that we're continuing to work with the Culpeper Garden leadership in the transition of the closure of the assisted living. We are hosting monthly meetings and trying to offer support to the residents in assisted living in anticipation of the closure at the end of June. So we'll continue to provide some general updates and highlights there. And then just wanted to share our community engagement forum will be March 16th. Again, since it's pumpkin spice season, it means that it's also time to start planning for the community engagement forum. We are going to be working closely with Catalina. Catalina's been doing some amazing work in conducting listening sessions and outreach around transportation. And so that's going to be one of the areas we really want to kind of focus on. But if others are interested in joining the planning committee for our community engagement forum, for those who may not be familiar, this is our big outreach event that we host in March. We host it in the community. We have satellite locations. And the format changes a little bit every year. We've had keynote speakers, we've had panel presentations, but then we break out into listening sessions to hear from older adults in particular about what matters most. And it's that feedback that goes into our area plan, that goes into the age-friendly action plans. And so it really is a great opportunity. And if you're interested, please let me and Dustin know. And then the last thing I want to highlight before I hand it over to Maimuna is that Arlington is updating its comprehensive plan. There's been one community meeting that was already hosted. There's one later this week on Thursday evening that I'll be in attendance for, that will be virtual, and then next week there'll be one in person at Trades. So we'll share information about those events, but there's also an opportunity to share your feedback online. But this is sort of all of the plans that Arlington has. The comprehensive plan is looking out until 2050 of who we are as a community, what do we value most, and really a way to highlight older adults and age-friendly in the comprehensive plan. And then lastly, I also just want to thank Claudia Deloach. She's on the call today, but she does an amazing job of tracking the minutes, keeping all of the updates and the feedback that are shared. There's so much that we share in this time. So just really want to thank Claudia for all of your support. So thank you. Maimuna?
Thank you, Rachel, and thank you, Dustin. Dustin's first AAA report. Did a great job. Thank you. I just want to be brief, as I know you all are moving on to other updates. So piggybacking from Rachel, Anita Freeman did send out a notification to our staff around the government shutdown and what we can expect. And all of you are aware we're on day 20. We are monitoring closely as a department. Our staff, as Rachel mentioned, personally, we have folks that we know that are affected, and we are employing and recommending the resources available for employees. In terms of our benefits, as Rachel mentioned, we are going to monitor those closely as we are heading towards the end of this month to see what that impact will be. Anita is very much keeping in mind that we have a lot of work to do around our data, our tracking of our benefits. We still will continue with our racial equity and inclusion work. That will not change. And in fact, that is needed now more than ever. So we are prioritizing those that experience systemic disadvantages and vulnerabilities throughout this time, as well as what's to come. We are going to continue to work towards a DHS strategic plan, which will be the first time that we've had one. Rachel mentioned there's a comprehensive plan. You all know about the housing master plan. We have the age-friendly plan. There's so many different plans, but we are working towards a DHS strategic plan for the next 10 years, and that will continue to focus on our racial equity work, our prioritization of those who have been systemically disadvantaged, person-centered and holistic services. Staff well-being will be a part of the DHS strategic plan, and integrated services. There was a recent survey. You might have participated in a focus group back in 2024. It was from October to December, so this time last year, and there were a total of 833 responses, and out of those 833 responses, around 699 clients responded. It was really an opportunity to talk about what people rated as our economic security, housing, health, and prevention and well-being, and how we're doing to provide that feedback. So we do have the results. We're looking at those. We did not find a large demographic of our 60 and over. Primarily, it was under 60, but we did have responses from over 60, but it was not the majority. The majority of the responses really were between, the largest group was between ages 40 and 59. But out of that came some good feedback around what we can focus on, and that will inform our strategic plan. And access was really a theme. So as Dustin mentioned around our performance measurement, that we are focusing on access, but that came out, and the work that's being done by Commission on Aging as it relates to transportation is one that came up as an area of challenge for the results from this survey. So more to come on that, and we are going to continue to work with the Social Services Advisory Board, which is your counterpart. And I am pleased that the Commission on Aging will have representation next Tuesday at the next Social Services Advisory Board meeting. I believe Kathy and Linda Kelleher are going to step in. I think William has a commitment, but it will be important, especially with all of the advocacy that is needed across our populations, our vulnerable populations, that the two commissions or boards come together and leverage advocacy. So that presentation from the Commission on Aging is next Tuesday, so looking forward to that. I'll stop right there. Are there any questions? Thanks for all you do, and I'll turn it back over to Kathy.
Well, thank you, Rachel and Maimuna, for your presentations, and just kind of echoing what you were saying about, the shutdown and its impact on older adults. It is tremendous. I mean, fortunately, Social Security, Medicare are mandatory programs, and those payments and services will continue to be funded, we hope. But people who work at those agencies that run the programs, they're not around. So having the AAA, having the ADRC available to answer questions, particularly during open enrollment, of course, is really vital. So thank you for all the work that you do. And I mean, hopefully this will end soon, because the longer it goes, the longer, the funding is going to be in jeopardy for the vital services for older people. So I just had one question, Rachel, about the emergency preparedness component of the area plan. I know that was added to the plan that had been presented earlier in the year. If there's any opportunity for you and Dustin to present that to the commission, that would be great when it's appropriate to do so. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, we'd love that. Thank you, Kathy.
Great. Okay. Wonderful. Then moving on to the chair's report. William did provide some report items. One, first of all, is just congratulations to all of the age-friendly, all the committees on the age-friendly progress towards the 2025 goals that were discussed at the last meeting. He wants to thank you all for your hard work, and kind of, please support each other to cross the finish line for some of those goals for the year. And he said, if you need help, ask early and often. And thanks for the contributions toward wellness for older adults in Arlington County. And he's excited to see the work move forward towards the end of the year. And then a couple of other things, just wanted to make sure that you all saw the NVAN priorities for 2026, the legislative budget priorities, as well as the continuing concerns. Those were shared. I think, Dustin, you shared those. So there's a one-pager on the priorities, and then a talking points document as well, that are really important, particularly as some of these budget changes happen at the federal level. But NVAN is reaching out to legislators to advance its work on budgetary and the legislative items. And then finally, I just wanted to let you know that there is one individual who is under consideration to join the Commission on Aging. I think it's still in process at this point for her appointment to the commission, but there are still a couple of other vacancies on the commission. And if you know of anyone who might be interested, who you think is a good person to join the commission, please let us know and encourage them to apply for the Commission on Aging. There is sort of an application or a questionnaire that interested persons can fill out. And that gets the ball rolling on getting new members on the commission. And maybe we can put the link in the chat provided. Okay, so that's it for the chair's report. And then, so we'll move on to committee and work group updates. And we'll start with housing and supportive services with Audrey.
Hi, everyone. So far, it's been a very information-rich morning. So thank you to all the presenters. And housing, I'm going to keep it really simple. Erica talked to her civic association, which is Donaldson run, last week about the Kensington, which is a new assisted living project that is potentially underway on Langston Boulevard, which is within her civic association, about getting 1 or 2 affordable assisted living beds. And it's too early in the process to really get into that, but she got the neighborhood sort of thinking about it. Falls Church, Kensington did provide, I believe it's 2 affordable assisted living beds. And we're hoping to do the same thing. Falls Church has different negotiating abilities. I'm not sure what that means, but they were able to get 2. So we're hoping for 2. As you know, from the size of the Culpeper population of assisted living people who are looking for housing, 2 is hardly scratching the surface, but it's a start. Tonight, today's Monday. Erica and I are going to talk to my civic association about being safe at home, aging in place, and all the things people can do. And it's targeted at my neighbors, at neighbors they know who are older, their family members, friends, about things they can do like safety-wise, grab bars, lights, door handles. We're using information from AARP. We're talking about different resources they can access, like Rebuilding Together. And there's information for both renters and for homeowners. So once we do that, we'll step back and say, how many of these presentations can we give? What's the best way to get to homeowners if it's productive? There are something like 62 civic associations and similar entities in Arlington. So it's impractical to get to all of them. But we're going to maybe talk to the Civic Federation. I'm not sure, but we're working on it. So that's our quick update. Thanks. Questions?
Okay, thank you, Audrey. Appreciate it. And health and wellness with Kate, and I think Kasha might be out of the country.
Yes, she is. So I will go ahead and give the update. We held our last meeting in September. Our next one is coming up November 7th. And like all the committees, we are kind of plugging away at those age-friendly goals, especially as we close out the year. Just real brief, continuing to connect with communities that have been identified as needing some additional support, some additional resources. So we've been connecting leaders there with information around dementia, around nutrition and wellness, around accessing healthcare. So continuing to find places to connect with those communities. We have also been working with the hospital. With Kasha met directly with our director of case management at the hospital to talk about discharge planning, see where we might be able to make some improvements or enhancements. So that's in progress. and kind of working through that. In addition, the hospital's working on kind of formalizing and enhancing age-friendly hospital measures, and really making sure that those are patient-centered, and meeting, the best practices, I should say. So that's also a work in progress. That committee's met a couple times in the hospital, and I'm involved with that and some others. So I'm continuing to move that forward as part of our goals for our Health and Wellness Committee. And then Linda's been really diligent about continuing to probe the dental access issues, kind of figuring out where people may be able to tap into affordable dental care. It's been a puzzle, been difficult, but she's continuing to plug away at that and put together some resources that hopefully we can share out in the community. So again, the next meeting's November 7th. Anyone's welcome to join, and that's it for me at this time.
Sorry. Thank you, Kate. Next, we have Roland Watkins on aging equity and engagement. Thanks, Roland.
Thank you, Kathy. I'm going to make this very brief, simply because we're going to be having our meeting this Wednesday. And hopefully at the next executive meeting and the next commission meeting, I'll be able to report on more things pretty much in detail. It looks like we're going to be doing a presentation to Path Forward. We've been approached by the group to do a presentation on fraud. Apparently about a quarter of the clients that are served at Path Forward are seniors. So we're pretty excited about that. And I'm pretty optimistic that that is something that we're going to definitely be able to accomplish by the end of the year. And the second thing that I wanted to report on is I have had a discussion with the Arlington Community Foundation. I had reported some while back that the foundation had established an LGBTQ plus community group, and was dealing with issues relevant to that community that went the age spectrum, from those who are young to those who are senior. It looks very good so far as putting together a presentation on senior issues. The important thing about that is it will be something that hopefully will be completely handled by the foundation, because they have the resources to do that. This past week, they had a presentation as part of LGBTQ plus History Month, which is this month, on Arlington and the history of the movement of Arlington. It was at the Lion Village Community House. It was very, very excellent. And it had 5 people who were all involved in Arlington things starting in the 1960s, actually, to talk about things. So we're going to work with that group on putting together a panel on senior issues. Also, we're going to be working with Marymount on a little bit of outreach. So hopefully that's something that we're going to be discussing on Wednesday, that I'll be able to report back to the executive committee and to the commission pretty much at our next meeting. So that's it, Kathy.
Wonderful. Thank you. And I just wanted to mention, thank you, Dustin, for sending out the list of all the meetings for the committees. And anyone can join the meetings, even if you're not officially on the committee. You can join and listen in and contribute. And all the meeting information is provided on the list of the calendar of events. So thank you. That sounds really great, Roland. All the work that you're doing. Go ahead.
Kathy, I reviewed this in trying to put together the list for the committee meetings. Just wanted to let everyone know that Helen had put together a list of all of the various members of all of the committee groups. and she did that in February. So if you didn't get that, you should get that, because I found that extremely helpful in putting together the notification list for this meeting. So it includes the list of commissioners and non-commissioners who are active in the various work groups. So just wanted to bring that to the attention of everyone.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. And maybe reshare that since it's been a few months. Great. Thank you. Okay. Any questions for Roland? Let's see. Looks like not. Okay. Then we will move to Catalina for updates on the Transportation Committee.
So for the Transportation Committee, our next meeting is virtual on November 14th. And the last several weeks, we've had ongoing conversations around Arlington's transportation future and the advisory group that's doing a ton of outreach and community engagement now, and also the Vision Zero external stakeholders group. So appreciate everyone's input on the various forms and surveys that I've had to send out to try to gather some of your input and feedback on both of those things. So for Arlington's transportation future, the next advisory group meeting is actually this week on Wednesday. So the project team is going to be sharing out the revised drafts of the modal priority networks. So the bike and micromobility map and the transit map, based on all the feedback that they've gathered from across the county and the various committees and commissions. They'll also share out some draft policies and draft curb lane uses. So more to come. I don't have a slide deck or anything like that yet, but I'm excited to see what updates they have coming out of all of the outreach they've done in the last several weeks. And then for the Vision Zero external stakeholders group, I don't think we have a firm date set yet for the next meeting, but that team is still doing a ton of engagement and getting public input on the current Vision Zero action plan. So we did a kickoff meeting for that group on October 7th. I shared out feedback based on what you guys all provided to me. And then I also sent an email recently with some other events they're doing out in the community. So on October 30th, there's a Lighten Up Arlington event with Bike Arlington on the WOND trail. And so that should be in an email, but I can provide it again to Dustin as a follow-up. And then I know the project team's also going out to various, distribution sites for AFAC and other places in the community just to be present and get feedback on Vision Zero. So that's all happening. And then for the committee, we're continuing to do our visits to the independent living residences. So we have our next one this Thursday at the Carlin. So it should be me, Joan, Peggy, and someone also from the Arlington Neighborhood Village will come and join us too. So that should be really interesting. We have met the goals for the end of the year in terms of the number of residents engaged and the number of survey responses. So we've engaged like 100 plus residents so far and collected about 30 plus surveys. So excited to do the next couple visits and then hopefully consolidate all of that feedback into like a short debrief memo with some suggestions. And then also excited to work now with Helen and the committee and the group that's going to be putting together the community engagement forum in March. Happy to know that there's been a date selected for that. So we'll continue to work through that as we edge toward the end of the year. And then also working on the draft transportation safety and accessibility guide for older adults that we've mentioned a couple times before. So trying to, again, consolidate resources and provide guidance to folks with different mobility needs and safety tips on sidewalks and such. And I think the emergency preparedness is another good flag too to keep in mind in those conversations about transportation and getting around in those instances as well. And then also it's oh, sorry, I think I might have said Helen, but Rachel. My mind is still waking up, I guess. But also for the transportation booklet, that's top of mind for me as well. I'm remembering that we have to make some updates there. So the committee will be working on that in coordination with Rachel and Dustin and the whole team at DHS. So I think those are the key things. But thanks again for everyone's input. I know I've been making a lot of asks, and some of the questions can feel kind of technical and very transportation focused, but I appreciate what you're able to provide. Thanks.
Thank you, Catalina, for your report and for staying on top of everything that's going on in the county related to transportation and relaying it back to us. And it's excellent to hear about the community engagement forum with a focus on transportation, because that definitely was an issue that came up a lot last year. Yeah, and having that guide will be, I think, super helpful to older adults. Great. All right. Any questions for Catalina? All right, then we'll turn it over to Charlie to talk about the long-term care residences work.
Thank you, Kathy. The committee met on October 9th, and for those of you who might be interested in this, we always get staff reports from a number of staff entities, including, for example, the fire department, and public health, and it's always very instructive to hear what the health trends are in the county, particularly as they affect long-term care facilities and residents. So that's been a very valuable part of these meetings. We also learned of a new small assisted living facility that was not on our radar screen in Arlington, called Paragon Assisted Living on Yorktown Boulevard, which has apparently 8 residents, if we heard correctly. If anybody is familiar with that, I'd love to hear from you. Otherwise, we're reaching out to them to learn more, because it was kind of always interesting to find out there's a resource under our nose that we weren't aware of. One of the projects we're trying to get off the ground is a work group to look at best practices for community advisory councils and how to evaluate them. We're getting that going slowly, but it's getting going. And if you have any interest in that, please let me know. Our next 2 meetings may be of interest to you. On November 13th, which is a Thursday, we meet virtually, but Joni Latimer, the state ombudsman, will be joining us. So if you have an interest in learning more about the state ombudsman program, please feel free to join us. And then our December meeting will be an in-person meeting at Carlin Springs Nursing Home. And for the first part of that meeting, we will hear about the nursing home and its services and get a quick tour of it. So if you're interested in becoming familiar with that facility, please join us. You don't have to stick around for the rest of the meeting, but feel free to join us. Be helpful if you let me know, because I need to give them a sense of how many people will be at that meeting as we get close to it in time. So that's December 11th, and the November meeting is November 13th. That's it for me, unless there are any questions.
Okay, no questions, but it'd be interesting to hear about what you learn related. Is it Paragon Assisted Living? Yeah. Okay. Wonderful. Okay, thank you, Charlie. Excellent. So we have about 13 minutes left, and we have some liaison updates. I'll be brief in terms of Age-Friendly Arlington. The only thing I want to report is I'm working on the survey that I mentioned at the last Commission on Aging meeting, and that's due next week. So I'll be reaching out to some of you on a few of the questions that I need some input. And then let's see, then the Alexandria Commission on Aging.
Yeah, I have just a couple things.
Great, thank you.
First of all, our Office on Housing is just recently issued a RFP to see how we can create or develop a mixed income affordable assisted living facility in Alexandria. So if you know of anybody who has a lot of qualifications in that area, let us know. I think our project manager sent that out last week, but we'll find out later on today whether or not we have any any people who want to apply for it. But it's going to be a fairly comprehensive survey, and it's going to be really focused on how we can actually develop a mixed income affordable assisted living facility in Alexandria. And we realize it's not going to happen overnight, but it's one of our master housing plan initiatives for the next 5 years. The other thing, just and I put it in the chat, we just issued a voter survey at ARP Virginia with regard to major issues that affect older Virginians very quickly. And the link is there for the actual survey. We found that Virginians across geographic and party lines overwhelmingly back policies that lower the cost of prescription drugs. That's not surprising. Expand Medicaid access for at-home or community care instead of only in nursing homes. Guaranteed paid family and medical leave, and implement requirements for nursing homes to spend taxpayer funds primarily on resident care and not on administrations. We also found that there's clear opposition to the Medicaid cuts, and that's going to be a big issue for not only NVAM, but it's something here in Alexandria that we're going to be advocating for through our legislative package. And then finally, get some takeaways. With regard to the people in the survey, they prioritize healthcare initiatives, and also there's a focus on affordability, access, and accountability and care. Again, I put the link in the chat. It's something that we'll be using, I know, with ANVAN and also with our advocacy here in Alexandria. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Appreciate it. And yeah, we'll take a look at the survey findings. Appreciate the link. Okay, well, next we have 55 plus programs. I think that was covered earlier on the agenda. Thanks to Jennifer again for that. And then I'll turn it to Wendy Zanker for any updates from the Arlington Neighborhood Village.
Thanks, Kathy. Just, very quickly, we had our all hands meeting on Saturday, which is an opportunity for our members and volunteers to get together and both to tell us what's going well and what they would like to see improved in the future. So we had about 50 people show up. They were there for about 2 hours. We had great table discussions, making sense of all of it as we move along, but it is intended to inform our 2026 budget development process. So that's all doing good. We're up to 500 members, going strong, 45% are lower income. So organization is doing well. Thank you so much.
Wow. Congratulations on your amazing work. Okay, I think that was it, but I wanted to see Erica or Karen if you had any updates on legislative activities, anything you want to report.
Yes.
Great, thanks.
I will just follow up on what you said earlier, Kathy. We had a very successful October 3rd Northern Virginia Aging Network Legislative Breakfast, and centered around presentation of our 7 priorities, which are all the more important now, given all the budgetary focus and all the challenges that have been presented throughout this meeting. In follow-up to the breakfast, we are Northern Virginia Aging Network, and specifically us here at the Arlington Commission on Aging are working to set up meetings with our legislators. We've got meetings currently set up with Senator Favola and Delegate Hope. Those are both on October 31st. And then we're still working to identify times with Delegate McClure and Delegate Lopez. And then is reaching out in other jurisdictions as well. Fairfax County, Loudoun, Alexandria, and Michael is doing some of that, and Prince William as well. So there's a big push on meetings with legislators, and then eventually meetings, hopefully contacts with the key legislative committees that match to our priorities, as well as budgetary staff. And I want to thank Karen for being the co-legislative coordinator and for partnering on all of these activities.
Kathy, it's Wendy. I just wanted to, I remembered one small little thing I wanted to mention to people. We recently did an outreach at the Cherrydale Library here on a Saturday morning. We had 25 people show up. So I just want to remind all of us that there are adult services librarians in each of the branches, And it's a new audience that we get to. I know we think that everybody sees everything and they come to what they want, but everybody's got their silo. So it was a great turnout at the library. We got members and volunteers as a result of that event. We're now scheduled to go to Columbia Pike and Shirlington and other libraries over the next couple of months. So just, again, a reminder that it's another outreach opportunity for us to take advantage of. And that's mostly just an FYI.
Yeah, great point. Libraries are excellent partners. Yeah. Okay. Karen, did you want to add anything related to the legislative work?
No, I actually had the same identical notes to Erica to share as well. So we're on the same page working in League. I think it's going well.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Does anyone have any additional old business to bring up? New business? Okay, or announcements?
This is Claire.
Hi, Claire.
I'm on the phone. It's not really new business, but don't forget to vote. Coming up soon, November 4th. Don't forget to vote. Thank you.
Thank you for that. All right. Well, unless I hear otherwise, we've covered our agenda. I just wanted to let everyone know that our next meeting is Monday, November 17th at 9 a.m. It's an in-person meeting, and it's going to be at Path Forward. So Kasha and the staff there at Path Forward will be hosting the meeting, and hopefully we'll get a presentation from them as well on the great work that they're doing. So with that, do we have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I'll move to close our meeting.
Thank you. Second? Charlie? Okay.
Seconded.
All in favor? Great. Well, thank you all. And I know we'll be in touch over the next few weeks before our next meeting in November.
Nice job, Kathy.
Great work.
Thank you, Kathy.
You're welcome.
Okay, bye.
Dustin, can I suggest you stop the recording and just stay on the call for a minute? And Kathy, maybe you do too.